Welcome back to the channel. With this YouTube video, I would like to show you some of the new array formulas available in Excel 365. So what you currently have is you have a spreadsheet, let's call it sheet number 1, with some employee information, their names, office, employee numbers, departments and salary. What I want to do is I would like to create a second sheet away from the original data, where I will then take on sheet 2 the department information on sheet 1. With that, I would like to create a drop down on sheet 2, and as a user select information from this drop down, it will filter out the information on the right hand side. So what we're looking at is a separate page, a drop down list created from the first page or sheet. That drop down list should be the unique values out of the department. It should also be sorted information. Once I select one of these values in the drop-down list, it will then filter out the information on the right-hand side. Now, you might say, but why can I not just use the filter option on the original sheet? You're more than welcome to do that, but then the user has got access to your original data. In the end, once we've created the right-hand side of the screen, we want to hide sheet 1 so they do not see the original information. So it's much more user-friendly creating a drop-down and the filtering then taking place on the second sheet. So what we are going to do, we're going to use 3 formulas in Excel. The one is going to be called the unique formula. Then we'll combine that with the sort formula and eventually use the filter on the sorted list. So if you like this video, please press the like button at the bottom of the screen and also subscribe to my channel. Okay, so let's open the Excel file. What we have in front of us is the actual original list of data on sheet number 1. First, what I'd like to do is I would like to convert this data into a table. Why a table? Because as I add new information to the bottom of this list, I want it to automatically expand. So if I would add a new department that didn't exist before, the drop down on the second page should now include the new department. So in essence, the original data set needs to grow automatically, and the only way to do that is to convert it into a table. So I click inside the data, I go insert, I go table, it selects the information, it confirms the range, and it confirms that there is headers at the top of the data. I say okay, the formatting changed. That just shows us that it has now been converted into a table. If I click inside the table, I will now have the table toolbar at the top of my screen, and on the left hand side I'm able to give it a name. So let's call this is my data table. Just for future reference, press the enter key. What I'm going to do on this page, I'm going to create the unique list and the sorted list of the departments, and then use that on the second sheet in my drop down. So the first formula I'm going to use is equal unique. Unique is going to ask me which column do I want to use for unique values. I go to my table, I go to the top, I get the drop down arrow. Make sure you select the drop down small little arrow at the top and not the actual range. So I'm going to click that. It selects everything in the table. Make sure you click in the header of the table and not in column E, because if I click on column E at the top, it's a whole column. I don't want that. I only want the column inside the table. I select that and I close the bracket and press my enter key. You will now see that it fetches all the unique department values so I can use them in my drop down. If I should add a new department in the future, this will automatically then include, because it's an array, a dynamic array formula, which will automatically spill into the future values. Now, apart from this, I also want this list to be sorted. So I'm just going to go to my formula bar at the front, at the top, and I'm going to combine the sort formula with this formula. Close the bracket, so it's two formulas in one. Now it's also automatically sorted. So what I have done now is I have created the list that I'm going to use in my drop down button on sheet 2. What I am going to do on sheet 2 is I'm just going to copy these headers. So when I use the filter command, I already have headers in place. So I'm going to copy this. I'm going to create a new sheet, and anywhere in the sheet I'm going to click Ctrl V, the shortcut, just to pick up the headers so I don't have to retype them or anything. Just make them a little bit wider. So underneath here I will have my filtered list, but first on the left hand side I need to create a button for the drop down list. So let's give it a header. You don't have to do this. Let's say select a department. I'm going to make the format the same. Just going to make it wide enough, and underneath there I'm going to create the drop down list. Now, how do I create the drop down list? I go to data, I go to data validation, click on data validation, and I select from a list. It's going to ask me where's the list. I'm going to click this button so I get access to my spreadsheet, go back to this sheet, and all I need to do is I need to click the first cell of the drop down list. You don't select the whole list, you just click the first cell, and because it is a dynamic array, I need to, at the back of that, do a hashtag. So I'm just going to press escape again. So I'm going to say this comes from this cell on sheet 1 with a hashtag, which will then pick up the dynamic list. I click OK, and let's see. There we go. I have my list from the previous page. The last thing I want to do is in this section here is create a filter using the value that I've selected in this specific cell. Okay, now let's use the filter formula. I'm going to say equal filter. I go back to the original sheet. I select the data. Say filter out this information, comma, where the value in this range, comma, equals, it must equal the value in this specific cell, comma. If you do not find anything, you can now specify error message. So let's say no data available, close the bracket. Let's see what happens. There we go. If I select something from here, accounts, it will filter out the accounts people for us. Now this is much more user friendly for the user than actually going to sheet 1, switching on the filters, and then expecting from them to click the drop down here and select a filter command here. So you still have your original data. On this side we've created the drop down helper cell or column with the, if I double click on it, we have used the unique formula to get the unique values out of a list. Then we combined it with sort to sort it alphabetically. Then we went back to the second sheet. We created here a drop down list. We clicked on it. We went to data. We went to data validation. We said it comes from a list. We said sheet 1. We selected that cell where the drop down values are created with a hashtag. Very important to remember that specific hashtag because it's a dynamic array. And then on this side we created a filter command which says take the data table, take the department column, and search there or filter for us the value that you find here in cell H5, and with that we combine it with a possible error message if it doesn't find anything. So now if I click there, I can just drop down and say customer support. It finds the customer support. I can now go to my original sheet, right click on it and say hide, so no one can see the sheet. All the user then sees when he opens the file is a drop down list. He selects the value, it fetches the data from the previous sheet and filters it out. That's it guys, hope you enjoyed this, and please press that subscribe button. Chat soon.